Okay, meeting is now streaming on Facebook.
So hello, everyone.
Yes, hello, everybody. And I just wait to see who jumps in first to make sure that we are loud and clear and the ladies can see our beautiful faces. Lisa Park jumps in first. Winner, Lisa. Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everybody in BooB CamP. Kylie and I have been behind the scenes, rubbing our boobies. Oh, we've had such a good week. We caught up. Kylie and I got together last weekend.
A week ago.
Yes, a week ago, and got together, did some business building, and thought, you know what, we have to come together. And I'm so excited that we're gonna go on a tour together as well, Kyle's, you and I in our vans.
I know. Well, we were having a retreat in Bali together, and then you know, we all know.
We were having a retreat in Bali together.
We will do a retreat in Bali together.
We will, yes, we still will. But now we're going to take it on the road.
Yeah.
Get out and about. So we've been, hello everybody. Hey Karen. We've been friends for ages now, and we love hanging out and talking everything nutritionally and naturopathically and healthy. But we also just love being like really real with each other. And I know that's how you are with your group. And that's how we are in BooB CamP. So I know everyone is going to love you. And we're going to talk tonight about hormones and how to be in love with them instead of hate them. You know, how to use our hormones to our advantage is also, you know, a really great thing. Hi, Di. Hi, Deb. And hello to everybody watching on replay. Please make sure you type in replay so I know, because I keep an eye on who is participating in things, always watching. So, yeah, welcome, Kylie. Welcome into, you haven't been live in BooB CamP, have you?
No, I haven't. I don't know why, but yeah, this is my first time. Hey, boobies.
Yes. So yeah, your ladies, your group. So all of your group get given the gloves.
They absolutely do. Yep.
Yes, as part of their program. Cool. So to start off, right, let's talk some hormones 101, because even though, yes, I'm a naturopath and I did all of this at college, my head is in booby lymphatic land. 100%. And that's why I would love you to fill us in, let us know everything we need to know, like on the level that we need to know.
Absolutely.
About hormones and, you know, the things that are the pain points of our group and how we're going to do some things, what the ladies can do about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone watching on a replay. My name's Kylie. I run the Well Balanced Woman, and I've just rebranded to the Hormone Hub. So you can now find me on Facebook as the Hormone Hub. So I am about all things perimenopause and menopause, okay, and all of the hormones associated with that. So I talk to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women, and I am sure that all of you are experiencing the same thing, because, you know, like feeling exhausted, like that would probably be my number one thing, is people are just tired, you know, and then there's the weight gain, and then there's the hot flushes, and then there's the horrific PMS and crazy periods and not sleeping and all of the things. So what I thought I'd do tonight is just sort of give you a bit of a 101 on hormones and what they mean and where they're at and how they're all connected, and then how this then transfers with the lymphatic system, because we, you know, and that's one thing sort of naturopathically, is we look at the body as a whole. You know, we don't just look at one thing. You know, you don't just have one thing going on. You've got all of the things. If something's out, everything's out.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking, you know, perimenopause and menopause. All right, so we're never told this. So perimenopause is the 10 years or so leading up to menopause. Okay, so it kind of can start for some women at, around 35. It happens in stages though. So, it might be subtle at first, and then it sort of escalates. But for a lot of women, their main hormonal symptoms actually happen in perimenopause. So because what happens in perimenopause is we get these big surges in our progesterone and estrogen, and then big drops. So it's these big surges and these big crashes that, start to trigger off a lot of these symptoms. So, women might notice that their periods are crazy. They might be, either really light, and really sporadic, which is great, or they might be super heavy and crampy and painful and awful, and the PMS that comes with that, like that's a sign of a hormonal imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
Then what happens is we sort of go through this perimenopause stage, then we get to, our periods sort of like peter off, and then, menopause is actually defined when you haven't had a period for a year. Okay, so when your periods stop, and some women will get to like 7, 8, 9 months, and then they'll have a humdinger of a period. So it's kind of like the last hurrah. And then the clock sets again, another 12 months, you're in menopause. So when you hit menopause, what happens is your body's not producing as much estrogen, it's not producing as much progesterone. So what happens then is you become more vulnerable to insulin resistance, to cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, all of those things. So then we need to manage. So what we do in perimenopause, sort of transitioning through menopause and then in menopause, it's sort of like different areas that we need to focus to keep you healthy. Okay, so and then while we've got all this going on, we're also then more susceptible to stress, because stress, and I think Chelsey talks about this all the time, stress will kind of override all of the things. So, that's a really number one key cause of hormonal imbalance. We then become more susceptible to, blood sugar, irregularities, because we're not sleeping, because we're having these crazy hot flushes. So we're awake and then we're not sleeping, and then our blood sugar's out. So then we want to eat all the sugar, all the carbs, and we just go around in this cycle. Our thyroid then gets affected. So it just decides to, I'm just going to slow down over here. So all of these things, like, they may not be medically diagnosable. So you might not be bad enough for it to be a diagnosable condition, but it certainly can have such a powerful effect on how you feel about yourself, how you, your energy levels, your sleep, your weight, everything. So it's really important, and I think what I, really want to sort of get into a lot of women is the earlier that you jump in and start doing something about it, the younger you are and the better you manage your transition through, the better off you are. And like, I even speak to women in their 60s and 70s who want to live to 90 and 100. And it's like, you have another 20 years to go. Let's get it sorted now. So I think it doesn't matter what age you are. Start today. Like, seriously.
So what signs should we be looking at? Because we need to have a look, and we need to see the little signs before we get knocked with a whammy. So when you talk to women about their period, I've never had period pain ever. And I speak to some people who can't work, and their bleeding is so heavy that it's, but who, one thinks they're normal, the other one thinks they're normal, and then there's that confusion, the embarrassment, or they're not wanting to talk about things. So there's 100%. that.
And what blows me away is women's capacity to just push through, and just get it done because we have to get it done. And, those horrific kind of periods that they've had forever, it is common. And, but it's not normal, but it becomes their normal because they don't know anything else. And unfortunately, this is where, the medical system is, it really lets women down, I think, because they're not looking at, they'll put you on the pill, or they'll give you a Mirena, or, worst case, they'll just sort of say, oh, we'll just whip the whole lot out. We'll get a hysterectomy happening, which is fine, but it's, the earlier you get to it, and what's causing that imbalance. So, there's certainly all of those other hormones going on that can kind of like have this like ripple effect. But then, how your body's working. Are your detoxification pathways actually getting rid of the hormones? Because something like estrogen, like if you're a woman who has, awful periods, how our body works is, our bodies make our hormones, and our liver and, and all of our detoxification pathways, it's like a vacuum. I always use this analogy of a vacuum cleaner. Like if the filter is full, you can't be bothered emptying it, guilty. When you go and vacuum, you can still kind of pick up the stuff, then you actually empty the filter, and then you go back into the vacuuming, and you're like, holy cow, all right, now we're in business, and our bodies are the same, so we need to address what's going on from a detoxification pathway, to really start to get rid of it, because our body, because we make estrogen, just like we make cholesterol, we make, so many other hormones. If our livers or our detox pathways are sluggish, our liver will prioritize always the things that are harmful. So it'll prioritize your pesticides and your chemicals and your alcohol, your caffeine, your pharmaceuticals, like all of that. Your liver needs to get rid of that stuff. So it'll break it down and get rid of it. But then when it sort of sees our hormones, it just goes, oh, hello, estrogen, I made you, you're fine. We'll just flick you back in the body. So then that's where, so our body keeps recycling this old estrogen. And that's the kind of estrogen that can be really detrimental. So that's, can trigger potential, hormonal cancers, migraines, horrific periods, all of those things. So that's why, we really need to get onto what's going on with our detoxification pathways. So liver, kidney, and of course,
the lymphatic system. So the lymph transports the hormones, like it's the major transportation route of our, fat soluble vitamins, and, it needs to push everything around and through. So we really need to target the lymphatic system. We need to look at liver. We need to make sure we are sweating, that we are breathing fresh air, right? So important that we're breathing fresh air, that we're not constipated, that our kidneys, everything, all of those pathways are eliminating and working properly. So signs to look out for. And like when we got together the other week, you saw all the brown marks on my back. You hadn't seen them before. And I said, well, I was predominantly an estrogen body type. I had the really, really skinny waist. And then the bigger butt and the bigger thighs, like the pear shaped. And I got the brown marks on my face and the brown marks, on my shoulders. But I've now noticed, now that I'm however old I am, how old am I? 45, that I've now, my legs and my bum, like I'm not that pear shape anymore. I'm going more of the straight up and down and getting more of that, that belly.
Yeah. And because that's that weight that goes on around our middle. So, there's a couple of things driving that. So estrogen for sure is driving that, thickening around the waist, but also, insulin and cortisol as well. So it's all working together.
You know me too well.
But it wants to, our bodies are designed to keep us safe. So, and this is where stress is the big key driver. So, our bodies, we want to be kept safe. And, biologically, like way back when, if we had to run from a tiger and hide in a cave where we've got that stress, and, you know, that stress allows us to sprint to the cave, bunker down in the cave, there's no food in the cave, so our body goes, hey, got you covered, we'll just go. So it'll just hold on to whatever you've eaten in the last, you know, 4 or 5 days. We'll just hold on, we'll just stack it around for later just in case.
Yes.
So biologically, you know, that hasn't changed. It's just, you know, our body doesn't know that we're in a cave and not in front of the fridge. So the stress hormones are still doing the same thing. So
yeah. So all the things to do to reduce stress, right? And we know so many of them, but we forget. We forget to breathe. We forget we have to sleep. You know, we have to drain the brain, recharge, all of those things. We, you know, connect with nature, essential oils, getting your foods right. You know, there are so many different things that we can talk about to reduce stress. Yeah. And I
just
think
laughing.
Just know that you're okay. Yeah.
Okay, this is my Google baby goats. Like, and no, fainting goats. So the ones that run and then they just drop over. You have to.
Should we do it now?
So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to Google fainting goats. And I'm going to share my screen. Just muted myself. All right. I'm going to share my screen and click on this and go share. Can you see it?
Yep.
All right.
Shut up and take
KFC. All right. Here we go. Oh, it's so cute. I want one.
I know, I want one too. Legs in the air. And then they get up and keep going. But like, what kind of survival mechanism is that? Because if you're running from the lion that's going to kill you, and you just play dead and then get up and move, it's like,
oh, they're hilarious. Oh, okay.
So that's what I do for stress management.
Oh, I'm stealing that. All right, I go unshare, stop share. Oh, that was fun.
Yes, and another good one is squealing goats, just as funny.
Squealing goats, okay.
Squealing goats. So
now that we've all had a good laugh.
I spend my time well.
Yeah. Oh, funny. All right. So yeah, singing, dancing, goating, like whatever you need to do. I love that. Yep. So just now I need to find my Facebook again to make sure. Oh yes, everyone. Yep, the girls are sharing. Screaming goats are awesome too. Oh, Nick Top said she would get on here and heckle us. So yes, she's come up with the screaming goats.
Screaming goats are also very funny. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Donna Grills, what's a great solution for cortisol elimination?
Yeah, so all the things that we just talked about, so cortisol is something that when we're in the moment, in that flight or flight, it floods our body with cortisol, but it quickly dissipates. Like as soon as you calm that sort of central nervous system, so deep breathing, baby goats, all of the things that we just talked about, all of that stress management, because what you want to do is learn how to sort of change the way that your body responds to stress. So instead of going like something happens and you instantly go into that fight or flight mode, you learn how to manage it, because stress is actually perceived, so stress isn't something that we're given a dose of. And, quite often we stress about, things that we can't control, things that we but what we can do is we control the way we respond to it. So it's, and I think it's human nature. We worry about things before they even happen. We worry about things that will never happen, but might happen, and it's flipping the switch on that and kind of looking for, okay, I'm safe, my family's safe. What's the worst thing that can happen? Or what's the best thing that could happen? Like, really. Another really good one, which is really powerful, is journaling, and gratitude. And, when you start to notice all the things that you're thankful for and, that you appreciate in your life. And it could be, if you don't know where to start with any of this, start with, oh my God, I'm so lucky that I have glasses, and I'm so lucky that I have my lymphatic gloves and things like that. And it's when you start practicing that and bring it into day-to-day life, it then becomes, you start to be more mindful of the positive things rather than all the what ifs that we
that's the voice that you feed, right? Isn't that
100%.
The one that you feed is the one that grows.
Totally.
Okay, so we get stress under control, but nearly everything most of the time points to liver. Most of the time everything points to liver, and that's when natural medicine comes into play. Okay, because that's really the only way that we can get the liver ramped up and get that detoxification, like assist the liver.
And we want to go sort of like a step up in the system and make sure your digestion's working well. So if you're suffering from bloating, constipation, diarrhea, reflux, all of those things, you're not absorbing the nutrients from your food. So you can have the world's most perfect diet, but if you're not absorbing those nutrients, we're missing the mark. So we need to, look at food intolerances. We need to look at the balance of food that you're eating. We need to look at the way you're eating. Are you sitting? Are you breathing? Are you chewing? Are you swallowing? Or if you're just shoveling it in, it's going to be uncomfortable to digest. So we sort of need to make sure that your digestive system is breaking down that food, absorbing the nutrients, and then packaging it up so it can go to the liver. The liver can do what it needs to do. Then it, poops out the other end.
So both you and I, we only see clients who have done the hair test. It's just a rule. Like we've tried the other way. We've wasted so much time.
I will never ever put another client on an elimination diet, and for as long as I live. Every single lady who works with me, we do the food sensitivity test.
Same. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's a waste of time, and you could be doing damage to them.
And that's it. And the food sensitivity test, what I've found is, it's easy because it tells you in black and white what you can eat, what you can't eat. And what I love is, of the 600 different foods and products that they test, you might have 50, 60, 70, 80 come up in red, but then you've got 420 in black that you can't eat. So it's not, and it's moving out of that deprivation kind of mindset into, actually I can have all of these things.
It's fantastic for that because you get a whole list of all the yeses. Yes.
100%. So So
and then you have a consultation. So the girls who do it, you have a consultation, and then we can go through and say, well, you can swap your onion for leek, and you can like swap out this for that, and
everything is switched. It's good. And I just find because it's easy to stick to, people are really compliant, and guess what, they're compliant and they get the results. It's crazy.
Did you actually do what I said?
Every single time, because it's easy. Whereas if I went and told a client, I want you to go off no dairy, no gluten, no nightshades, no this, no that, no that, no that, no that, and then off you go. We'll see you in a month's time. And then, the poor woman's sort of left with, still has to cook for a family. And then she's just on such a restricted kind of what she can eat. Like, it's crazy. And, you know, I will not do that to any woman, any wife, any mum, any partner, any single woman, anyone at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be complicated.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah. All right. So digestion, chewing. So that's where, like, cooking food, smelling the food, like the whole
get it
process
started. Yeah, absolutely. And just, and then sit down and eat with a knife and fork. You know, I always get my clients, you know, to eat their lunch with cutlery. You know, we don't want food that we're just shoving in. We want cutlery. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And
Unless it's
times of eating. So I just teach, like, just eat when you're hungry. Sometimes you can be hungry 5 times a day. Other times you cannot be hungry at all, and that's okay too.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, going back to sort of hormones in our cycle, you know, we have natural ebbs and flows in our cycles. So when, you know, we're in the lead up to our periods, that's when, you know, we tend to get the cravings. So our body naturally has a higher, like, calorie need, you know, in those days leading up to your period. So, and that's totally natural, you know, so that time is not the time to start fasting and training for a marathon. That's the time to comfort, nurture, nourish, get through your period, and then you've got more energy. You can have, you know, leaner sort of foods. You can have, like, lighter salads, lean meats, you know, like all of that sort of stuff, you know, higher fat foods. And it definitely, whereas, you know, leading into your period, you know, you want those carbs, and you want, you know, more sort of plant-based carbs particularly. So it's definitely in a cycle. And that's why you have days where you're hungrier, and, you know, and other days where you're fine and you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. And exercise the same too. Some days you feel like you can go gang ho and lift and run, and other days it's just like, you know what, I'm happy with a stretch.
100%. And there's all these studies coming out now. So they've always done studies on men. But they're starting to recognise, you know, female athletes now, and, you know, working their training in with their cycles. So I know some of the Olympic teams, I know the Matildas, I know the weightlifters, you know, like, there's quite a few, you know, who now work with women in their cycles. And I think that's really cool.
Yes. Yes.
We are not small men. You can't just do all the research that's been done on men and expect it to apply for women. So, yeah.
So true.
Just FYI, all the keto research, all the fasting research has all been done on men who do not, because the reason they do it on men is because men don't have cycles. So men are a stable hormonal unit.
Wow.
Whereas we have, you know, that fluctuation and those different needs. So if they did a fasting, like a 24-hour fasting study on a group of women who are a week out from their periods, if someone's going to die, you know.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So PMS.
Yep. Okay. So again, this is a sign of a hormonal imbalance. So generally PMS can be, and when we talk hormonal imbalances, usually it may mean that, you know, we have an excess of estrogen and, like, normal progesterone. But what it can mean is we might have normal estrogen and our body's just got low progesterone. So it's more the ratio rather than, you know, you have too much. I mean, I don't like the term, what do they call it? Estrogen dominance.
Yes.
You know, like, yes, we get what it means, but, you know, when they use that term estrogen dominance, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got super high estrogen. It just means that your ratio, it could mean you do have high estrogen, but it also could mean you just got really low progesterone.
Yeah.
So this is where things like PMS kick in. And, you know, because, you know, your hormones have been floating along, and then all of a sudden you've got this massive crash in progesterone, and your body is literally freaking out. So that's where PMS comes from. So, but there's so much that we can do to support your body, you know, naturally without, you know, synthetic hormones and things like that. So, It's
so testing, if the ladies wanted to go and get some testing done, are there, because it's all different, isn't it? It's all
I tend not to test for hormones. I rather go on the signs and symptoms of what the woman in front of me is telling me, because like I said, you know, your hormones are fluctuating throughout your cycle, and you know, your blood test is just a moment in time. So it's really telling us where you're at that particular time on that particular day. There's certainly tests you can do. Like if you haven't had a period for, you know, a while and you suspect that you might be sort of heading into menopause, you can certainly have a test done. And I wouldn't even look at estrogen, progesterone. I would look at like what they call FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormones. So like there are literally hundreds of hormones, but they're the two hormones I would look at. And where I would tend to test, so what I do is I sort of talk to the lady in front of me on Zoom, because we're all online, and I go off the signs and symptoms, like where they're at, what their like period history has been, what's going on for them currently, and then the signs and symptoms I can usually put a plan together to help them.
Great.
And where I would then do testing, because hormone testing, like hormone blood testing, like I just said, it's not great. It's just a snapshot of where you're at that point in time. We can do things like salivary hormone testing. We can do Dutch testing.
I'm about to do that.
Yeah, okay. We can do all these things. And usually I would use that if going on the signs and symptoms, 95% of women will respond quite well to what we're doing. So those hormone tests are actually quite expensive. You know, we're looking at $400 a test. So I would rather they put that $400 into good quality supplements that's going to immediately help their body. 95% of women respond beautifully. So I would send a woman off to have that, next level of testing if she wasn't responding the way I would expect her to be.
Right.
And that happens sometimes. So, and again, it's good because it gives us a snapshot of what we're doing, whereas, testing for the sake of testing, because they are expensive, because they are all done privately. I would rather put that money into, essentially when the treatment outcome is going to be the same anyway, if you've got the test results or you're just going off the signs and symptoms. So
cool. Like blood glucose test.
100%.
Really
So
good.
Fasting blood glucose, I would want to test insulin, and I would also want to test HbA1c as well, which is one of your markers as well. So, again, we want to look at the whole picture.
Please
ask me about thyroid testing.
Thyroid testing too.
Yes, I'm glad you asked. Thank you, Chelsey.
Yes.
So, I've got a lot to say about this. So most doctors will, and again, this is where, the medical profession are great at diagnosing things and then prescribing what needs to happen to fix those symptoms, okay? So they traditionally have used TSH, which is your thyroid stimulating hormone, as the sole marker for a thyroid test. Okay, now that does not tell us what's going on. We also need to look at T4, T3, at the very least. And then if a woman is sort of presenting with all of the low thyroid or all of the high thyroid, I want to see antibody testing as well, 100%. So I really get my ladies to push their GPs for that extra level of testing. And the amount of women who've been picked up with Hashimoto's and Graves' disease and things like that, only because we've pushed for the testing. And the other thing to bear in mind with testing, when you've had blood tests and they all come back normal, okay, I'm sure a few of you, thousands of you, are going to go, yeah. So our blood tests, like if you think of it, they look at blood tests, and it's a bell curve, so like that. So if you are, and here are the markers. So you've got your bell curve and here's normal. So this is normal. So you could be sitting on the outsides of normal. So remember your little bell curves drop down. So if you're on the outside of normal and you're feeling like a bag of shit, and your doctor says, you're fine. You're not fine. We want you in the optimal range. So we want to see you here. This is where you're going to feel fine, in this optimal range. If you're sitting outside that optimal range, and you feel like rubbish, your doctor's not going to do anything with you until you're outside the range. So if you are feeling like rubbish, you have your test come back, you're sort of looking towards the edge of normal, and he says, let's just wait and see. Okay, what they mean is, let's wait until it gets bad enough that we actually can then give you a pill. Whereas, there's so much you can do with diet, lifestyle, medication, not medication, supplements, reducing that inflammation. Particularly what we don't want to happen is it to blow into an autoimmune condition. Yeah. So we really want to have a look at your whole body, get that inflammation down, make sure your body's working the way it should do. I'll talk about this forever.
Yeah. So the girls are all talking on and saying thyroid, the medical profession don't even pick up on thyroid until it's too late.
Yep.
I had Hashimoto's diagnosed by a naturopath.
Yep.
And it was undiagnosed. It was less than, until my thyroid hormone was less than 0.5. Sally, yes, it happened with my iron blood test.
Yeah.
So, when you say like it's this much, I say to my people, it's like, okay, well, your foot fits in that shoe. That's this big. You can't walk in it.
Yeah.
Like you can't run in it. If we had that shoe fitting perfectly, you are gonna style your way through.
Yeah.
But when it's like this, your foot fits in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Breaks my heart because, like I've had women go years and years and years and years feeling horrible. Oh, they're tired, they're putting on weight, they're lethargic, their hair's falling out, all of the things. And, they're just dismissed. And it's just like,
You're breathing.
Yeah, you're breathing, you're not medically diagnosable because you're not. And the thing is, like the shoe keeps getting bigger, so the more people who get blood tests, and who gets blood tests? Do healthy people go and get blood tests? No, we all get them when we're sick or when we don't feel great. So you've got a whole population of unhealthy people getting blood tests, and it's just getting wider, the limits. And So
ladies, please start posting your questions on here. So we've got about 20 minutes left. Any questions that you have for Kylie? One big thing, Kylie, that happens with me, I'm sure it happens with you too, is that after ladies have come in and had their lymphatic treatments and seen us as naturopaths, they get their period back. They're like, I thought it was done. I thought it was over. Yeah. And look, now I've got my period back, Chelsey. Yeah. And I go, yes, we've taken 5 years off your life. Woohoo!
Added 5 years on.
Okay.
If you think of, and that's the thing, there's kind of this mentality that, periods are bad, periods are horrible, we want to be done with them. But if you actually think every time you ovulate, it's like a little donation to your future health. So the more you ovulate, and if you're on the pill, you are not ovulating. Can I just say that? So we want you to ovulate. We want you to, because that's your body's report card of how things are working. Like if you've gone through menopause, that's another conversation again. But, if you're still in perimenopause, ovulation's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Please don't put 13-year-olds on the pill.
And so that's the thing. You go to it's what are the options? And the other thing is, like, I'm surprised that so many women want to get off the pill, but their husbands won't have a vasectomy, right? Yeah. The women go through all of the things, and they've just got to go in and have this half an hour little nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, no, I can't do it. So what are the options, the birth control options for women who want to get like off the pill, who are, you know, coming up to their 40s, their 30s, 30, you know, late 30s to 40s.
Yeah.
What should they do? Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a really good question. Condoms, they're cheap, they work, they're portable, they're transportable, they get tied up in a nice little tiny package. There's no drip, there's no mess, there's no wet spot.
Yeah.
So that's a good option. That's what we use, my husband and I use. You know, we've had some fun times where he's come back with the novelty box, and it's just, you know, like you'll whip it out, open it up, and it's like a scratch and sniff. Or it's got like snake skin on it, or, you know, so it's one way to kind of bring probably too much hilarious laughter, because I will just pack it in, laugh, and kind of kill the moment. But so, you know, funny for me, not so funny for him. But so condoms are great. You know, if you are looking for something that you don't have to think about. You know, as far as hormonal contraceptions goes, probably the Mirena is sort of the least impactful to your body. So it's got sort of like a low dose of, again, it's synthetic progesterone. It's not, you know, so your body doesn't recognize those synthetic hormones. So again, you know, you're not getting that ovulation, but for some women, you know, it might help with heavy bleeding and things like that. Now, I just want to sort of touch on HRT and, you know, that for a second, if that's okay, because I know this is something I get asked all the time. And there's this big sort of confusion about, is it okay or is it not? So when we sort of go through perimenopause into menopause, you know, we've got these changing needs. And traditionally, there was one type, you were put on this big whack of high dose synthetic estrogen. You know, it was linked with breast cancer and, you know, other hormonal cancers. But our options now, we've got so much more. Okay, so if we kind of think 30% of women will just sail through menopause and hardly even know, you know, minimal symptoms, minimal effect to their life, you know, and generally, if you've always had good, healthy periods, you're more likely to have an easier, healthier menopause. Yep. All right. So then we've got like the bottom 30 who are going to, they really struggle. So hot flushes, mood swings, anger, you know, there's so much that's going on. It's really a chemical shift in the brain. Everything's going on. Now, for these women, you know, unfortunately, it can impact like day-to-day life. And my sort of take on it is, if it's impacting your quality of life, go and do something about it. You know, they've actually changing the name from HRT to MRT, so menopause replacement therapy. I think just to lose some of the stigma. But certainly if you sort of find a good GP, and there are good GPs, I mean, we've dissed the whole medical system all night, but there are good GPs out there. And what you want to ask for is body identical hormone replacement. Okay, so this can be, if you're still in perimenopause, you want progesterone support, because that's what's going to lift you up. If you've been through menopause, then you want estrogen support. So you don't want just the one size fits all. You want the hormone support for where your body's at now. Okay, and if you have a great GP, they'll also look at, you know, DHEA and testosterone, and, you know, because all of those levels drop. And then, you know, we've got the rest in the middle. You know, sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be shit. And, you know, and they're the women that we can really help with diet, lifestyle, you know, and in conjunction, if you choose to go and have HRT or
MRT, yeah.
That's great. Like I work with women where they're at, it's your body, you get to choose, but I feel like it's my role to educate you on what the options are, because that's where your doctor doesn't give you the options. He'll just write the script, hand it over, won't tell you what it is, won't tell you how it's going to affect you. So there are options out there for sure, 100%.
Yes, awesome.
And stress makes it all worse. Just circle back to stress.
Okay. Underactive thyroid, diagnosed and taking thyroxine daily, but still feel crappy.
Yeah, okay. All right. So that's where we need to sort of have a look at what else is going on in your body, because quite often I find women who aren't responding well to thyroxine, there's something else going on. So how's your digestion? How's your iron levels? How, are you, quite often I see constipation, bloating, there's those food sensitivities there and that inflammation, and that's why things aren't working the way they should do.
Yeah. So you still have to put the work in, right? It's
100%.
It's just taking the tablet. You still got to put some more work in.
Absolutely.
Maybe, maybe.
Yeah.
So, and then next one, Beck, have fibromyalgia. Could this be the case of misdiagnosis?
Yeah, this is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client recently who has just come off all of her fibromyalgia meds, and she was having the aches, the pains, the chronic fatigue-like symptoms, all of those. And, once we sort of got that inflammation down in her body, and once we sort of flooded her body with the nutrients it needed, there was just this big sort of shift where, and then all of a sudden she's feeling good, and she's, it was quite extraordinary to...
Yeah. So you've got the toxicity and the deficiency, right?
Yeah. Yep. So, and because, through perimenopause, that joint ache, pain, that ongoing fatigue, it does, it can be quite similar to the symptoms of fibromyalgia. So that's where it can get misdiagnosed for sure.
Yep. Okay. But doctors don't know what to look for. Yes.
Yeah.
No, where's this one? No herbs or following the moon or anything natural for contraception.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
I love this. I can look at these phrases.
We love the woo-woo.
We love the woo-woo. Okay, so when you're following a lunar cycle, so you menstruate at the new moon and ovulate at the full moon. So that's, and some women are the opposite, which is fine. So you just need to sort of figure out where you are. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a whole other, visit, Chelsey.
Yeah.
But if you kind of think of, like if you're menstruating for the new moon, and then you want to count 14 days on from that. If you've got a regular 28, and it all depends, of course, on the length of your cycle, you're ovulating sort of around day 14 to 16. So I would, sort of go probably day 12 to 18, just to be safe. And then, so over the new moon. So 6 days over the new moon, I would abstain.
Yeah. Oh, and same with trying to fall pregnant, right?
Yeah.
Going by the moon. Okay. I've been suffering menopause for the last 22 years, Lise, and I've tried several natural remedies due to breast cancer. I don't want to go down the road of HRT.
Yep.
Have you got any suggestions on what to do next?
Oh, 100%. Give me your liver. Oh, I want your liver. I want to just clean you out. Yeah, no, definitely. And there are some good, I work with a lot of women on tamoxifen. There are some really good herbal supplements that they work on a different mechanism to your hormones. So the hot flushes and those menopause symptoms, it's actually your body's like internal heat regulator that that does that. So it's not actually your hormones, like the low estrogen triggers it, but so what we do is we, you know, sort of go in with nutrients and herbs to look at that heat regulation as opposed to your hormones. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so Kyle's to work with you and your program. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you. So if you're curious, you want to check us out, we are over at the Hormone Hub. So Chelsey's got the link there, I think, for the Well Balanced Woman. It's the same link. We've just renamed the group.
Okay.
Same link, new group, new name. So that's where we've got, you know, all of our freebies. That's where our community is. So similar to BooB CamP, you know, we're over there talking, you know, all the hot flushes and angry at husbands comes up a lot. Snoring husbands. Yeah, so and then I have the Well Balanced Woman program. So this is our 12-week signature program. We look at you holistically, and we work through in like a really systematic, you know, we work on your whole body. So we sort of start, we get the foundations right. We want to make sure that you're getting the right balance of nutrients, you know, keeping those blood sugars even, moods even, energy level even. Then we move into your digestive system. So like I said, we want to make sure you're absorbing the nutrients from your food. You know, we want to address any bloating, constipation. IBS is huge. IBS and hormonal symptoms are like linked. So we want to address all of that. We do the food sensitivity test. You get supplements, all the appointments, you know, you're handheld the whole way through. Then we get on to the detox. So this is when we pull these babies out. We, you know, work on your liver. We, you know, make sure that, you know, your detoxification pathways are working the way they should, so we can clean out the garbage, you know, we want to take out the trash. And then across the whole program, we've got the lifestyle and the mindset pieces. So we work on that stress management. We work on, you know, changing out of that diet mentality, because that's a really key piece. So many women I work with have been, they've done keto and they've done fasting and they've done this and they've done that and they've done paleo and they've done, you know, like all of the things, and nothing's really working because they're jumping from one to the other to the other. So what we do is we sort of embrace food. I'm, you know, a nutritionist. I love food. Chelsey and I were talking about my inner Labrador. I love food. And I think, you know, food, particularly these, you know, when we are able to get together with friends, family, you know, food connects us. There's always food. So you want to be able to enjoy the birthday party. You want to be able to enjoy the champagne. You want to be able to enjoy the pizza. Let it go. You know, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Enjoy it. Let it go. And there's stress management 101 for you right there. Enjoy the pizza. You know, it's just pizza. And then the next you know, meal, you're back on track, you know, because we want this to be a long-term, realistic lifestyle, not a 12-week all or nothing kind of diet. So, so that's kind of how I work.
I felt like I've just been going,
Yeah.
yes.
I feel like I've been talking. You can tell I've been at home on my own all day. I've had no one to talk to.
Okay, Donna, I had a partial hysterectomy, still have ovaries.
Beautiful.
What are the signs of menopause I need to watch out for?
Yeah, okay. That's actually a great question, because your ovaries are still intact. So your surgeon did a magnificent service to you. You can actually still be cycling, you know, and a lot of women, we're never told this, and a lot of women don't know. What, depending how open you are to the woo-woo, what you can do.
Donna is our woo-woo lady. She's
fabulous.
She is our woo-woo lady.
All right, love you, Donna, already. So I would go with the lunar cycle, and, you know, so with the new moon, sort of imagine that's your menstruation. So that's your downtime, that's your turn inward, nurture, nourish. Then as you come out towards the full moon, that's where you can be stronger, you know, eat differently, like all of those things. So that's kind of how it works. But then signs and symptoms to look out for. So sore breasts is a sign that, you know, you're still ovulating. So if you start to kind of track, that's the word, isn't it? Track it. Yeah, track and like do it in sync with the moon. So sort of start with the moon and track from the moon. So, you know, like sore boobs, and then and mood swings. You know, you can still get like stomach pains and twinges and things like that. So if you start to track your cycle, you know, or track the moon cycle and see if there's a pattern, you know, that's a good way of knowing.
Yeah, awesome. So we've popped your details in. My amazing VA Eunice has popped your details in here. But you're in BooB CamP, and for anybody watching on replay, if they type a question in, I know that you'll see it, and they can tag you.
Yes.
They can tag like at Kylie Pinwill, and then you'll see the notification come up to be able to answer any of the other questions. So
happy to answer the questions.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you so much for jumping in with me, answering all these questions. Like, it's a lot of the things that we sort of know, and so many that I didn't, you know, so many that I didn't too. And it's just to bring it back to the front of our brains and then go, okay, well, what can I do? And like, what do I notice? And how do I get back in tune with my body and take a breath and, you know, do all those things? So we just need all the thank yous are just coming through. Like, it's wonderful. Thank you so much. Fabulous. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Kylie, for your insights.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Yes. Yeah. And heaps will watch on replay as well. Cool.
Fantastic.
All right. So thank you. You know, I love you, and I love your cooking and everything. And yes, and I can't wait. So girls, you know, I've been talking about for a while about rural different areas in pockets in Queensland that Kylie and I, so Kylie's on the Sunshine Coast, I'm in Brisbane, that we can get together and maybe do a day talk at a couple of different places. So if you are really community minded, if you have a group already who that come together, and that us two could do a duo, and I don't know, we could probably bring a goat, right?
We could just pick one up on the way. We're going to the country, we'll just find a goat out there.
Right? So yeah, if you know, want us to come along and talk to your community, please get in touch with us too.
No, that'll be a lot of fun.
It will. Too much fun.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Chelsey, for having me.
You are welcome. I've got to go pick up my son from basketball training again.
There's always something.
Yes, always the way. All right. Love you all.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.